Good evening to everyone. I just want to start off by introducing myself. My name is Rabbi Huttel. I'm the social worker here at the Jewish Center. I've been here for around 8 months, and it's been a pleasure getting to know everyone here. So just a little bit more about what I do and my services at the Jewish Center, and I also as well work for the Jewish Board. So some of the things that we do at the Jewish Board is we provide people with bereavement support, support groups, whether someone lost a spouse, a parent, a child, a sibling. So we provide support groups for that. We also do individual support as well. If someone's in a crisis, or someone also individual bereavement, short-term counseling as well. We provide that. We also provide concrete services to all of you. If anyone here needs a referral for a certain agency, mental health agency, social services, financial referral, medical referral, different things like that, that I'm the person who would be referring you and helping you with any of those needs. So just know, it's good to know that I'm available and I'm there. I'm on the website. My name, my number, my email is on the website. So please, if any of this applies to you, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm available, and look forward to working with you. So I'm just going to share my screen. One moment here. All right, there we go. Okay. So as you can see, the topic that we're going to be discussing for today is anxiety in the high holy days. And the reason why I thought this could be an appropriate topic, besides the fact that I'm a social worker, should probably be talking about things like anxiety, is that often when the high holy days comes around, or any of the holidays come around, there's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety with surrounding the holidays. So I just thought it would be appropriate to talk about some of the issues that can come up. So we're going to just start off an overview of what I'm going to be speaking about today. Is first, I'm just going to be speaking about what exactly is anxiety. What are some of the symptoms? What are the things to look out for? And then second, I'm going to talk about both specifically pertaining to the high holy days, anxiety around things specific to the high holy days, and how to reduce your anxiety and improve your overall well-being. And then generally as well, not just for the high holy days, but we are very anxious people, America, and just general tips to reduce your anxiety and just improve your overall well-being. I'm going to speak a lot about. So there's going to be a lot of information being thrown at you. Don't be overwhelmed. It's really good tips. I'm going to send this presentation over to you, to everyone at the end after. So don't worry if you forgot something. It's all going to be sent over. And then the last thing we'll be talking about is just some Torah wisdom on living a healthy and anxiety-free life. So let's get started here. One moment. All right. So what is anxiety exactly? We talk about it so colloquially, so regularly. What exactly is it? So the APA, American Psychological Association, explains anxiety as an emotion characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes like increased blood pressure. So it's a lot of tension that may be built up in your body. You're always constantly worried about things, and there can be some physical manifestations as well. People with anxiety disorders usually, might have recurring intrusive thoughts or concerns. They, maybe they might avoid certain situations out of worry. And like I said, they might have some of those physical symptoms like sweating, or might feel restless, dizzy, maybe trouble concentrating, paying attention, and the rapid heartbeat is definitely very common as well. Really very important to be aware that anxiety is not the same thing as fear. People often get them confused all the time. Just to talk about the difference, anxiety is when you're worried about a future-oriented outcome. It's more of a long-acting response. while fear is more present oriented. It's short-lived response, and there's a clear, identifiable, and specific threat when it comes to fear. So for example, when it comes to anxiety pertaining to the high holy days, how will I have time to cook for Yontif, to clean, to shop, whatever I need to do for Yontif? I'm not going to have enough time to do it, right? That's future oriented, and that lasts a long time. That's anxiety. Fear would be, there's an imminent threat. There's something clearly identifiable that you're afraid of, like a bear that's chasing after you. Most people are going to be very fearful of a bear chasing after them. And that's not anxiety, that's fear. So I thought that, that's an important distinction to make. Anxiety can present itself in different ways for different people. One person may experience a butterfly feeling in their stomach, and maybe another person might be experiencing panic attacks. Someone else maybe is having nightmares, and another person could have maybe like painful thoughts. So obviously you could see there's many ways that anxiety can manifest in a person. So how do I know? How do you know if your anxiety is getting really bad to the point where it could be considered an anxiety disorder, general anxiety disorder? So we're going to go through the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical. Wait, I think I know this. Diagnostic Statistical Method of Mental Health. I think I got it right. And because I think it's really important for you to be aware of what it means to actually have a anxiety disorder, and if it is something that you are experiencing, it's it's extremely important to be aware of that. So let's go through just the DSM and what it says, just to be aware. Excessive anxiety and worry occurring more days than not for at least 6 months about a number of events or activities such as work or school performance, or it could be like when the high holidays comes around, shopping, cleaning, getting things done for the high holidays. So it has to be persistent for at least 6 months. So more days than not. So I guess, 4 days out of the 7 days, or 5, 4, 5, 6, or 7, obviously. The individual finds it difficult to control their worry. It's just completely like taking over their whole life, that they're not able to control it. Anxiety and worry are associated with 3 or more of the following 6 symptoms, with at least some symptoms having been present for more days than not for the past 6 months. So an adult, you have to be experiencing the following 3 out of the 6 symptoms, but for a child, this only requires 1. And that the 6 symptoms are restlessness, feeling keyed up or on edge, being easily fatigued, difficulty concentrating or your mind going blank, irritability, muscle tension, and sleep disturbance, having trouble falling asleep. D, which is anxiety, worry, or physical symptoms cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. So you're worried about a certain social gathering because you have a friend, you have someone that's going to make you feel anxious. They're very, they're a bully, or the way they make you feel, they say certain things that makes you on edge. Or your job, you have certain meetings and jobs, and you're afraid you're anxious about the meetings, you're anxious about going to work, about your expectations at work, and other important areas of functioning in life as well. Okay, so the disturbance is not attributable to the physiological effects of a substance. So, the anxiety is not being caused by a drug or a medication or another medical condition. And in this case, they give an example of hyperthyroidism, because I think that specific condition does cause anxiety. So it can't be attributable to any of those, and then also can't be explained by another medical disorder. So if any of these, specifications do pertain to you, I really do encourage you to seek out help and really get the support that you need and deserve. So it's very important. You shouldn't be suffering. You should really, really do what you can. Encourage you to get all the support you need. Okay. Anxiety around the high holy days. All right, this is what the topic was. Let's get to it then. I'll start off with the statistic. So according to it's not a very happy statistic, unfortunately, but according to the American Psychological Association, almost half of all women and a third of men report increased stress around the holidays. That's an incredible, mind-boggling stat that, at least 1/3 or more are experiencing an increased level of stress during the holidays. And you could see that it's an American problem. It's not just a Jewish problem. So, what are some of the things that around the high holidays that we will be anxious about? Well, of course, with the teshuva process, am I doing enough to improve myself, to work on myself? So much anxiety around that. Maybe so much I've done so much bad that I've done this past year. Is God going to forgive me? There are all these different questions about the teshuva process that could really make a person anxious. Of course, there's the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning. How am I going to get it all done in time, right? That's like the big question that everyone's asking. This is not enough time in the day. It's real. It's a real question. Yeah. Hosting family members for lodging and guests for meals. The question of, will everyone get along with each other? You have a lot of different personalities coming together. You got your uncles, maybe you got your grandparents, you got your other set of uncles and aunts and cousins, and all these different personalities meshing together. Are they really going to mesh? It's going to be a disaster. You have all these questions. Also, who do I invite over for meals? Maybe I'm going to offend someone if I didn't invite them. What if someone invites me or my family and I know it's not going to be a pleasant experience? You want to enjoy the Chagin, you want to enjoy Yontif. And sometimes, maybe because you invited them, so they feel like they have to invite you back, but you're not really so close with them. You're not such good friends, and you're not going to enjoy yourself there. That happens all the time. It's another anxiety. And then there's, of course, the financial stress of food, clothing, mitzvah items. I guess more so on Sukkot. With the sukkah, the lulav, the esrog. But even Rosh Hashanah, getting all the different types of fruits, and there's definitely costs there, and Meiser money, giving away Meiser money, which people often do, before Rosh Hashanah, and of course also tzedakah in general. People give tzedakah. So all these different anxieties that people are dealing with. Okay, so now that we know what anxieties that could be happening to us during the high holidays, what are some tips that we could do to prevent some of this holiday stress? First thing I'd say is make time for yourself. Right now, in Elul, the time, coming up for before the holidays, just take at least 15 minutes a day just for yourself. It really can reduce a lot of your stress, a lot of your worries, whether it's take a bath, take a relaxing bath, a bubble bath, or read a relaxing book, or maybe your favorite TV show, whatever it is that relaxes you. Just take at least 15 minutes a day for yourself. Schedule worry time. Just schedule for me a few minutes a day to write in your journal all of your worries. And it's funny because I know it might sound counterproductive, because it's like, why would you want to spend specific time in the day to worry? Isn't that going to make you more worried? But happens to be studies show that when you actually have specific time in the day to journal all of your worries and your stress, and you write them down as they come, it actually is comforting to you, because then the rest of the day you're not worrying about it, because you know that you have that specific time in the day to worry about it. And so write them down as they come to, address them during that specific time, and then when that time comes, address them during that time. And hopefully, when you are writing them down, it could be a good time to maybe come up with some good solutions as well. Planning ahead, so important to reducing stress and anxiety. Make a budget and stick to it. Even if your grandchildren are asking you for the most expensive thing in the store, and you want to appease them, you want them to like you and think you're cool and you're the best grandmother, best grandfather, best mother or father or whatever, you gotta stick to your budget, even if it means getting something from the dollar store. Kids still really do appreciate small things. It could still be very special to them, even I know this might sound silly, but even something as small as a lollipop, their faces light up whenever, they're in shul and the candy man gives them a lollipop. It doesn't have to be the most expensive, showy kind of gift. And of course, when it comes to even cooking, we always end up making more than necessary. So just really be strict with how much food realistically you actually need to buy. Plan specific days for shopping and cleaning and cooking. Make a menu ahead of time. Maybe consider shopping online, if you feel like you don't have as much time. Make a shopping list. Even maybe go to shul events if there will be shul events. Make sure that that your friends will be there, because it can be very anxiety provoking when you're at an event and there's no one that that's really there. Whether you're going alone, even when you go with family, you want to feel like there are people there that you feel comfortable with. So maybe call your friends ahead of time and ask them if they're going, if they'd like to go. It could really help. And when you're hosting your meals, try to host your meal with at least one close friend. Like I said before, it could be that in the past, maybe someone invited you, now you have to invite them back, so if you're hosting a meal, you might feel uncomfortable. You might feel just not in a good place if there's no one there that can make you feel good or make you feel comfortable. So try to invite at least one close friend to make you feel more calm. If you end up having to really invite those people, just make sure you have a close friend. Just say no. Like I said before, if a grandchild is asking you for a gift, you could say no. It's okay to say no. What you need to do, your priorities, what you got to stick to that budget. Or, like an acquaintance is inviting you to a meal and you just really know that if you go, it's going to really put a hamper on your joy of the holiday, of the Chag. And you could say no. It's completely reasonable. And you have the right to be happy on the Chag. And you can even just be vague and say, oh, I wish I could, but, so sorry, I can't make it. You don't have to even give a reason. It's not their right to know, it's okay to keep it vague. And then of course, I gotta, ask for help and support, whether it's with the cooking, the cleaning, the shopping, that's what your kids are for. No, that's, they're there to help you cook, to help you clean, to help you shop, do whatever it is to make your life a little bit easier. Or you could ask your friends or whatever it is. And financial support as well. Don't be shy to ask for financial support. Shuls have anonymous tzedakah funds, and there's so many charities that can help out with, if you're struggling with finances. So really don't hesitate, don't feel embarrassed. It's you deserve to have a happy and joyous Chag. And then the emotional support, you're having a difficult time, whatever it is, you're so anxious about the Chag for whatever reason, reach out to a friend, reach out to your family member, whoever it is, to speak to. It's speaking things out is really helpful. And then setting aside differences. This might not be easy, but especially when it comes to Rosh Hashanah and Elul and Teshuvah, it could be a good thing if there are certain family members who maybe you don't get along with so well, for your own peace of mind, especially for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur time, to think about setting aside those differences, and you'll see that when you do, you're gonna feel amazing about yourself, and you're gonna feel even if, let's say, they themselves aren't as forthcoming, but you're the one who's taking that step and trying to be the better man, the better woman, and putting yourself out there. You're gonna feel amazing. You really will, and then you're gonna feel less anxious. Your mind will be settled. So I just think those are just some tips for the holiday. Okay, what about generally? What are some general tips to reduce anxiety? So I'm just gonna say them, and then each slide we're gonna go through a bunch of these to explain a little bit more. Improving your sleep, extremely important for reducing anxiety. Staying active, staying away from alcohol, limiting your caffeine intake, meditation and mindfulness, eating a balanced diet, of course, minimizing your phone use and your screen time, of course. I'm sure we could all relate to that. Acupuncture has been proven. I've actually done acupuncture myself, and I can say that along with I had some back issues, and along with that, it's just it does make you calmer in general. It really does. It's really works wonders. Of course, massages, obviously, chamomile tea. Some reason it's been proven to really help reduce anxiety. So if anyone hasn't tried chamomile tea before, may want to consider trying it. And then, of course, socializing. Speaking to more people, I'm sure, as we can all relate with COVID, how much that's increased our anxiety. So now that things are kind of coming back to normal a little bit, to try to take advantage of socializing as much as you can. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Ways to improve your sleep. Maintain a sleep schedule. So important. You should be getting at least 7 hours of sleep, ideally 8. And you want to make sure to go to bed and get up at the same time every day, including weekends. Yes, including weekends. I know it's very difficult, especially those Saturday nights, Motzei Shabbosim, where you just want to relax, watch a movie, stay up till 1, 2 a.m. Even though the rest of the week you go to sleep at like 11 or 12, it's gonna completely mess up your sleep-wake cycle. So you really want to try to be consistent and be disciplined every single night of the week. Go to sleep the same time, wake up the same time. Don't lie awake in bed. If you don't fall asleep within about, let's say, 20 minutes or so of trying to go to sleep, leave your bedroom. Do something relaxing. Maybe read a book, listen to like really soothing, calming music, and then go back to bed when you start to feel tired. Because it's just, as I'm sure everyone here has experienced to some degree, I've experienced, you could end up in your thoughts for the next hour or so, and you're looking at your watch, you're looking at the clock, and you're like, how is that possible? How did an hour just go by? So just stop yourself within like 20 minutes or so, do something, leave your room, read a book, soothing music, whatever it is, till you feel tired, and repeat as needed. But really continue to maintain that sleep schedule and wake up time. Don't hang out in bed during the day. Why so? Because your body associates the bed with daytime, and it's gonna tell your body that now it's not a place for sleeping. If I hang out in the bed during the day, then your mind and your body is associating with daytime, and of course that's not good. Create a nightly routine. Read a book, let's say, maybe 20 minutes before you go to sleep every night. And when you do that, do something like that, or listen to music, maybe you dim the lights a little bit before, an hour before. You do that consistently every day. Eventually, it's going to tell your mind that, and tell your brain that it's bedtime. It's time to go to sleep. Consider daytime activities. Studies have shown that when you work out during the day, you exercise during the day, it ends up actually making you be able to go to sleep better. But of course, don't work out too close to bedtime, because then it riles you up and you're activated. Don't take naps during the day. Of course, as you know, I'm sure, sleeping in the daytime will end up confusing your internal clock, so don't do that. Keep your room dark and cool. Dim the lights, like I said, an hour before you go to sleep. Try to minimize as much as possible your external noise. And maybe the artificial lights, like the alarm clocks, they have those artificial lights. Just try to minimize that as much as possible. Maybe if you want, maybe wear a sleep mask. Make sure your bedroom is as quiet as possible. If you want to wear earplugs, and just make sure in general that your room is a very relaxing, clean place to be. And that's it's going to make your brain more calm and feel more ready to go to sleep. One moment. Reduce blue light exposure. As we know, there's tons of electronics around our room. And unfortunately, blue light actually affects your circadian rhythm. And the more blue light that you take in, it actually tricks your brain into thinking that it's still daytime. And of course, we know the classic, the drug for sleep, which is melatonin, and blue light actually reduces the hormone of melatonin, which obviously helps you relax and have a good sleep. So what you can do to maybe block some of the blue light is you could wear glasses. There's specific glasses that block blue light. Look it up. Or you can download an app. It's called Flux, and that also blocks the blue light specifically for your laptop, your computer. So it's really great. I think I'm going to do that myself. And you could even install an app that blocks blue light for your smartphone. Whether that's your iPhone or an Android, they have it for both. So those are really good ways. And of course, you can, I know it's not easy, but try to stop watching, any TV or movies, and to turn off any bright lights 2 hours before bed. Okay, and don't eat 2 hours before bedtime also. Obviously, especially when it comes to big meals, you don't want to be doing that. It's gonna, especially if it's carbs, it's gonna gives you energy, and you wanna avoid that. Take melatonin if that could be an option. If maybe after you've tried a lot of things, melatonin really helps. 2 hours, they say 2 hours before bedtime could really be helpful. Taking a relaxing bath or a shower, it calms you, makes you feel much more relaxed, gets you in more of that sleep state. Reduce liquid intake, obviously, before bed. Like, try not to drink too much fluids an hour or two, because obviously you might end up having to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, which you want to obviously avoid. And then there's sleep apps like Calm and Headspace are very, very famous. Slumber, and they have like different sounds that can make you feel really tired and good, like the rainforest, the ocean, the wind, whatever it is, etc. So those are great things. Okay, staying active. That was the next thing. One moment. So let's start with a study. 2013 study found that people with anxiety disorders who reported a high level physical activity were better protected against developing anxiety symptoms. So the more you work out, the more you exercise during the day, the less anxious you are. Exercise can divert your attention away from something that's making you anxious. Of course, like just the fact that you're working out, you're playing basketball, you're playing tennis, you're swimming, that in itself is going to be less anxious because you're focusing on the task at hand, and that diverts your attention from the anxiety. And then, of course, when you're exercising, it brings up your heart rate, and that changes the brain chemistry to create more space for the anti-anxiety neurochemicals like serotonin. So it just makes you happier in general and less anxious. And then, according to the APA, regular exercise leads to an enhancement of concentration and willpower, which can help certain anxiety symptoms. So it doesn't just reduce anxiety and overall happiness, but it also actually increases concentration and motivation in life. So exercise is pretty good. We definitely encourage you all to exercise as much as you can. So now that we talked about how important it is to stay active, how do we actually do that? How do we go about staying active? So biking or walking to work, if it's an option for you, if you're able to do it, and maybe now you're just, you're lazy, you'd rather just, drive to work, take the bus, take the train, but it can work in your schedule to bike or to walk there. I would definitely encourage you. It's a natural way to stay active. And you're doing it every day. So it builds up. Build a weekly workout routine. There's these bunch of workout apps that I found that are pretty popular. And if you'd like, you can even do it with a buddy to help you, stay accountable. And it actually says, it might be frightening to see this, but 2 hours and 30 minutes a week of moderate exercise, and 1 hour and 15 minutes a week of vigorous, intense exercise. And listen, obviously it's the ideal, but to try to get to as much as you can to that point. And then this is pretty crazy, even crazier, that children and adolescents should do an hour or more. So that's 3.5 hours of moderate exercise and 2 hours and 15 minutes of intense exercise. So it's a lot, but there's a reason why they say an hour more, because obviously they have a lot more energy. So getting a gym membership is extremely important. Not just going to the gym once in a while, but specifically a membership, because you're being held accountable by your payment. You have to pay a certain amount a month, right? It's by the membership. So in a way, it's going to force you to go. And even better if you go with a friend, you have a membership together with a friend and you hold each other accountable as well. And of course, planning in group fitness, whether yoga, tai chi, or Zumba. Doing anything in groups is always beneficial because you're always holding yourself accountable with each other. So anything in groups is better. That's the life rule. Get a standing desk. I actually, during COVID, I got a standing desk. I work remotely a lot of my time. And, obviously when you're sitting down for 8 hours a day, it's going to have effect on your physical health in your body. And it was starting to. So that's why I got a standing desk. It's actually amazing. You alternate. They say to alternate every hour between sitting and standing. And the desk, I think it's around on Amazon, like around 100. It's a really good one. I can't remember the name of the company, but there's a lot of good ones out there. And so when you're standing, you put the laptop on the top, and then there's like another place for you to put the keyboard, the wireless keyboard, which is like a 90-degree angle, and it's great. It's really amazing. Would very much recommend that. Choosing the stairs, obviously, if you have the choice to walk up the stairs or an elevator, increases your heart rate and builds muscle tone. Household chores, cooking, cleaning, whatever it is that you can do, yard work, things that are easy, that a natural way to just like get more exercise around the house. But obviously you want to balance that with self-care. Like we were saying before, you don't want to do all the cooking, all the cleaning, especially for the high holy days. So you want to always obviously balance that with self-care. Find more trips, vacation, especially with the Chagim coming, with Sukkot and Polomoid. Try to plan a trip, a vacation, day activity, wherever it is, the mall, to the zoo. And obviously when you plan more vacations, more day activities, it means more walking. So the good thing to do. Try a new hobby that's active. Swimming, tennis, pickleball, I know is very popular nowadays. Yoga, hiking, biking, skating, whatever it is. Find a new hobby that's active. There we go. Okay, now we get to limiting alcohol intake. What are some tips we can use to help limit our alcohol intake? And just something interesting about alcohol is that some people start drinking because they're so anxious, especially around the holidays, and it helps actually calm their nerves when they drink. But ironically, ends up having the opposite effect, where the alcohol itself ends up being the thing that makes you more anxious. So it's just interesting how that can happen. So set a drinking limit. Keep your drinking below the recommended guidelines. For a woman, it's no more than 1 drink a day. For a man, no more than 2 drinks a day. Put it in writing. Try to really make a list. Make a list of reasons to reduce your drinking, why it's beneficial for you. Could be good to also keep a diary of your drinking as well. Maybe write down the amount that you drink, the time that you did it, the place where the drinking occurred, and really write down any situations that come up, or thoughts or feelings that you had when you were drinking. It's just good to be self-aware, and because when you're able to look at the information and then look back, it can really help you kind of determine what your patterns are with drinking. Avoid triggers. So really spend time away from people, from places, things that remind you of drinking. So I think the one that comes to my mind, Kiddush clubs. If you got all your Kiddush club buddies and that's a big trigger for you, really try as much as you can to stay away from that. Or just in general, any kiddushes that have alcohol, really try to reduce the amount of kiddushes that you go to that serve alcohol. Reduce meals as much as you can with friends who, your friends who might regularly want to serve you alcohol, hard alcohol. I'm not talking about wine, I'm talking about liquor, the hard stuff, liquor, tequila, whiskey. And if you feel pressured by them, I would really reduce, going to those meals. And then of course, ask for support. It's not easy to do this all on your own. So, really make your friends and your family a part of your goals to hold you accountable. And, if you continue and you realize you're maybe even doing all of this already and you're still having trouble, speak with your doctor, your psychologist, or mental health professional to help, get the support. Okay. And now we move on to caffeine intake. So how do we now limit our caffeine intake? Delay usage. Really, if you can, try to delay as much as you can for at least an hour after you wake up in the morning, because it happens to be a very interesting fact that an hour, or right when you wake up, that's actually when your body doesn't need caffeine, because supposedly right when you wake up, there's this your body produces naturally cortisol, which is the natural energy booster. So you may want to save. You're already getting energy cortisol right when you wake up. So there's no point in having coffee in the first hour or two when you wake up. So maybe save your coffee for maybe mid-morning, early afternoon, and that's when your cortisol level will dip. Keep tabs. Start paying attention to how much caffeine you're getting, whether it's from food, from beverages, of course, energy drinks. It's going to do that. Try to really read the labels carefully. Be aware. Really be aware that your estimate actually might be lower, because there are some foods and drinks that contain caffeine, but they don't list it. So maybe always try to list on the lower side, and be stricter. Cut back gradually. For example, do a little by little. Drink maybe one fewer can of soda or a cup of coffee each day. Avoid drinking caffeinated beverages late in the day. That'll actually help your body get used to the lower levels of caffeine, and then hopefully lessen the potential withdrawal effects as well. Go decaf. Obviously, there's a lot of decaffeinated beverages that look and taste exactly the same as caffeinated beverages. So if that's an option, it's really could be a good counterpart to a caffeinated drink. Shorten the brew time or go herbal. When you make tea, when you brew it for less time, there's actually less caffeine. So it's a good little tip to know. Or there's some herbal teas that actually don't have caffeine. So just be aware. Of course, if you have the option of taking a herbal tea that have caffeine and doesn't have caffeine, pick the one that doesn't. And check the bottle. There is actually some pain relievers that contain caffeine. So if you can, look out for the ones that don't have caffeine. Okay, meditation and mindfulness. So this is actually a very classic, very good meditation and mindfulness exercise, which is called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to do that. We're going to do that together right now. And it just helps you become more present, grounds you if you're feeling super anxious about whatever it is you got going on for future when it comes to high holidays, whatever it is. This can help just make you feel more calm and present and ground you. So, you want to acknowledge 5 things around you. It could be a pen, a spot on the ceiling, on the wall, whatever it is, anything in your surroundings. Find 5 things. Acknowledge 4 things that you can touch around you. It could be, your hair, your glasses, a pillow, the ground on your feet, the back of the chair, whatever it is. 4 things that you can touch around you. Acknowledge 3 things that you could hear. So it could be really any sound, that you can hear. It could be maybe your stomach is rumbling a little bit, or things outside your body. Your AC, the battery from the laptop, the fan, the clock ticking, whatever it is. Acknowledge 2 things that you can smell. Maybe, now you're probably not in your office, but if there's like a pencil, you want to smell your hand. Maybe, if you want to go into the bathroom and smell the soap, or whatever it is that is around you. 2 things to smell, and then acknowledge 1 thing that you can taste. So it could be your saliva. It could be maybe you have a taste in your mouth from the coffee, hopefully not too much coffee, that you had earlier today, or maybe a sandwich that you had for dinner or something. So this exercise has been very proven actually to really reduce anxiety, to keep you more grounded when you're taking you're focusing all your energy away from your thoughts to your body, and it's a very good tool. Okay, eat a balanced diet. I obviously can't say this enough. Studies show that people who follow a diet high in ultra-processed foods and added sugar are more likely to experience higher perceived stress levels. And thank God, we're not when it comes to the non-Jews and the non-religious, when they had McDonald's and at McDonald's every 2 blocks. Okay, we're fortunate at least not to have that, but with in a city, there's plenty of restaurants available and fast food. So obviously it's going to increase your anxiety. Not eating enough nutrient-dense whole foods may increase your risk of deficiencies in nutrients that are essential for regulating stress and mood, such as magnesium and B vitamins. So those are specific vitamins. Those specific are for regulating stress. So see if you can find certain foods or drinks that are rich in vitamin B and magnesium, because that'll help reduce anxiety. And there's actually this book that I found called Boost Your Brain Power, which talks about the mind-body connection, because the brain and body, they do work together. And of course, when you're not eating good, you don't feel good. And I would really recommend this book by Dr. Eric Kaplan. He's a neurologist, one of the actually only natural neurologists in New York. And I'd really recommend this book. Okay, so now we're on to the Torah part of this presentation. So just some Torah wisdom on well-being and how to just feel better and be less anxious. So, so where do we see from the Torah of just taking care of yourself? We see in Deuteronomy, where it says, but take utmost care and watch yourself scrupulously. And then for your own sake, therefore, be most careful. Those are two very classic texts in Deuteronomy that talk about taking care of yourself, and whether it's physically or emotionally and mentally. So we have this verse in Proverbs 12:25, where it actually says the word anxiety itself. So I felt like of course I had to use it. If there is anxiety in a man's mind, let him quash it and turn it into joy with a good word. And Gemara in Yoma, Daf 75a, actually comments on this verse. And it says, Gemara explains another verse in Proverbs where it quotes the verse, if there's care in a man's heart, let him quash it. Proverbs 12:25. And there's actually a machlokas between Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi. And they dispute, the verse's meaning, as you see. One said he should forcefully push it from the lashon of yashena, means to push something out of his mind, right? So that's one tool. And it's actually interesting because when you think about, let's say, CBT, this is very much in line with CBT, of being able to push something out of your mind. When you have a negative thought, the idea is called cognitive restructuring. You're able to counter that negative thought with a more positive thought. If you're telling yourself, I don't know how I'm going to get through this day. I don't know how I'm going to have enough time to cook, to shop, to clean for Yom Tov. Okay, well, then counter that with the thought of, wow, but it's amazing at the same time that I have all this support. I have my kids, my grandchildren to help me. I have all these friends, emotional support. So it's good to counter it with something positive. And even just, when you get that negative thought, it's very important. It could be really beneficial before you start to internalize it, where it goes from the mind to the body. Catch yourself and just completely, like the advice here, to squash it out of your mind, completely just obliterate it. And the Tanya actually speaks a lot about this, that when you have negative thoughts or whatever thoughts it is, before it starts to internalize and go down into your body, where you start to feel those physical symptoms of anxiety, quickly just divert your attention by doing something, by keeping yourself busy, distract yourself, and then hopefully you won't end up internalizing it, to getting it from your mind to your emotions. And then the other rabbi said that it means that he should yeshena, tell others his concerns, from the lashon of yashen, to tell over, which will lower his anxiety. So this is another way that the Torah we see from a Torah source to lessen your anxiety, which is to tell people, to put your burdens, to tell your worries to other people, because that releases a burden off of you. And I just wanted to share a story that I saw actually of someone was going to the doctor. He goes to the doctor yearly, but it happens to be that he went to a bunch of doctors that year. After he finished with that doctor, the doctor, he was surprised, and he said, "Doctor, I don't understand. I know I've gained so much weight. Why haven't you chastised me? All the other doctors I went to this year chastised me and told me, you really need to lose weight. Watch what you eat." And the doctor responded to him, it's not what you eat. It's what eats you that really matters. And, it's really true. People wait forever to get help and let their anxieties eat them, really, until there's almost none of them left. And it's really, really terrible. Many, a lot of us, we hesitate to get that help. Maybe you see it as like a sign of weakness, asking for help, or maybe you believe deep down that you deserve to suffer, or you think, unfortunately, a lot of people think that, with time, things will heal, things will get better, but it's not true. It's a very misguided rationalizations, these rationalizations. And we really shouldn't, avoid facing our issues on our own to the point where we could end up becoming extremely frustrated and bitter, angry, resentful towards people. It's not something that we should wait to get to that point. And there are many people you can talk to, your friends, a therapist, a rabbi, your family, whoever it is, to seek help. And when you articulate your issues, your problems to a second party, it actually can objectify things and give you clarity and more insight to the matter, as opposed to keeping it all to yourself. And when you deal with a problem at its inception, the beginning, it ends up can avert a lot of headaches and heartaches and many tragedies. There are many stories of people who, maybe were on the cusp of divorce, but maybe if they didn't go to the professional help, they wouldn't have, they would have got divorced, and they did right away because they knew that it could easily spiral into something. Or people during COVID, they got the help they needed so that they don't feel completely isolated, or they feel like, relationships, it can avoid destroyed relationships. So it's really important to speak to an objective second party and to speak out your problems. And there's actually another story I'd like to share that really supports what I've been saying, which is there's a story is told about a little boy who, he was playing in his backyard. He tries to move like this really big rock, and he pushes and he pushes, but to no avail. He can't move it. It doesn't budge. So he's very frustrated, and he turns to his father, who, instead of, you would think would be very sympathetic at that moment, he admonishes him. And he says, you're not using all your strength. And the boy turns to his father, or, he turns once again and actually back to the stone, and he's huffing and he's puffing, he's pushing, he's pulling once again. There's no success. He can't move the rock. Much to his surprise, what happens? He hears his father again chastising him, but son, you're still not using all your strength. So the child is so confused, and he's so tired and fatigued, and he's crying to his father. How can you say that, Daddy? I don't understand. I tried my best. I used all my energy. And the father tells him, no, you haven't. He says, you didn't ask me to help you. So we see from here, using all your strength means taking advantage of all the resources that you have at your disposal, not just from your own self. Of course, we see in Pirkei Avos, and I think I use these two because I think they go very much hand in hand, which is, who is wealthy, one who is happy with his lot, as well as the more property you have, the more anxiety. And of course, in Judaism, we don't believe in complete abstinence, and we believe that resources like money having a lot of money can be a very good thing when you use it for the right things. But it could also be used for not such good things. And I see it more as like a warning. Beware. The more property you have, the more anxiety it could bring you, because the more stuff you have to worry about. And really, it's saying the way to really be wealthy is internally. There's nothing externally that can really make you happy. That's why no matter how much you have, as long as you're internally, you feel wealthy, and you're happy with what you have, you're going to feel internally wealthy. And it's the difference between permanence versus temporary. When you kind of realize that the things that you have are not essentially what makes you happy, but they're tools that you can utilize to be happy, to get happy, but they themselves don't make you happy. That's the difference between seeing those things, those items, as temporary versus permanent, and that they're just gifts from God to use as tools to serve God. And I think if you have that mindset, then it can make a person a lot less anxious in life, a lot more satisfied and at ease. Okay, let's just continue here. So I actually wanted to spend a whole page here on Duties of the Heart by Ibn Bakuda. And this is a very famous Musar Sefer, and he speaks a lot about this concept of Emunah, that of course having Emunah can definitely reduce your anxiety. So he says, trust is peace of mind of the one who trusts, that one relies in his heart, that the one he trusts in will do what is good and proper for him on the matter he has trusted him with. according to his ability and his understanding of what will further his good. So what do we see? We see here that this idea of having faith and trust in God will ultimately make you feel a lot more calm and satisfied that, in the end of the day, you do all you can, you put in your installed list, but at the end of the day, it is up to God. It is ultimately in his hands. And having that ability to say that and to think that, to feel that, can give a person a lot of ease in their mind, that it's not completely up to them, their fate. And when one clarifies this to himself in his recognition, and the true kindness of the Creator will be strong. He will place his trust in him, give himself up completely to him, and leave the guidance of his life to him. Never suspect him in his judgments, nor be upset by what he has chosen for him. As David said, I will lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the name of the Lord. In Tehillim 116:13. And that's on the good, and this is on the bad. I found trouble and sorrow, and call upon the name of the Lord. Tehillim 116, verses 3-4. So there's a couple of things that we learn from David. First thing is the concept of surrendering. In 12 steps they do this. It's a big concept in 12 steps for Alcoholics Anonymous. That idea of surrendering to a higher power, and just realizing that, like I said, like it's beyond you, and it's out of your control, and that can be very freeing for a lot of people. And then we also learn from David that it's extremely therapeutic to speak to God in your own words. Besides the, Shachas Minflamar, there's this certain feeling of just freeness, and it's just like when you speak out to a therapist, to a friend, it can be very therapeutic. To build that relationship with God, especially now close to the High Holy Days, could be a good time to really focus on your own relationship with God and speaking to God, just like we saw David would do all the time. And the third thing we learned from David is that you can turn to God when you're in trouble, and that when you're feeling anxious about whatever it is that's coming up in the High Holy Days, and you're thinking a lot of things to be anxious about in life, that you have God to turn to, and to vent to him and to talk to him. And just like David, when he was in trouble with Shaul, who was chasing after him, or after he sinned with Bathsheba and he felt such despair and such hopelessness, that's when he reached out to God. Dafka, specifically when you're in that dark place, that is the time to reach out. And of course, there's benefits of trusting in God. Peace of mind from the worries of this world, peace from the frenzy and drive to pursue the lust of this world. That makes you just feel calm, secure, and peace in this world. It's written, blessed be the man who trusts in God, and God shall be his refuge, in Yirmiyahu 7:7. And for he shall be like a tree. We actually, we're compared to a tree many times. So this is one of the times that we're compared to a tree. For he shall be like a tree planted by the water, that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves stay green. It has no worries in a year of drought. It never fails to bear fruit. So just like leaves, when heat comes, so comparing heat, let's say, to fear or anxiety, when it comes, it's still able to maintain its freshness. It's green. So we also can maintain that as well by having trust in God, having faith in God. And even when there's a year of drought, when there's things during the year that are really difficult, can cause a lot of tension and anxiety, it still never fails to bear fruit. And we can still produce in this world. We can still be productive even when we are anxious, when we have that trust in God as well. Okay, and then there's of course the classic from the Lavator, Rabbi, think good and it will be good, which is very much a true, very, very, very wise thing, because it happens very often where you think in a certain way, if it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, whether for good or for bad. So especially when it comes to CBT, it's very rooted in CBT that the way you think will end up becoming the way that you feel and the way of your reality. So even just forcing yourself to think positively, even if you're not, and it sounds kind of silly, but you'll see that, and it talks about this in the Mesilas Yesharim a lot, by externally and even in your minds thinking something good, and that will end up making you feel better. And sometimes your outcome will end up being better as well. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, of course, we see many things from Rabbi Nachman about being happy and feeling less anxious. When a person knows that everything that happens to him is for his benefit, this perception is a foretaste of the world to come. That, many say that in the world to come, it's like the sheath of the sun, the cover of the sun will be removed. And all of the questions that we have, all the difficult questions that we have about our lives, why do bad things happen to good people, doing things like that, why is there so much suffering in the world? It's all going to come, and it's going to make sense, and you're going to have all the answers. So Rabbi Nachman is basically saying here that a person can experience that same joy, that same happiness in this life as well. When you trust in God, you have faith, you have that sort of attachment with God, and you live a life with that sort of positive attitude that that things ultimately will be good. Everything does happen for a reason, and of course easier said than done, but to kind of have that kind of world to come kind of view, you can end up experiencing some of that pleasure in this world. And the person has to believe in himself, that he too is beloved in the eyes of Hashem, for according to the greatness of Hashem's goodness, he too is great and precious in Hashem's eyes, from Psichos Aran, also from Rabbi Nachman, that many people think that humility is to think lowly of yourself and to put yourself down. And it's important to recognize that that's not what humility is. Humility is actually recognizing your strengths, that you do have a lot to offer to this world, but to know that ultimately that it's a gift from God. That's what humility is. And that's why Moses was the most humble man, but he was also the most productive and the most spiritual, the closest to God. And if humility was thinking so low of yourself, he wouldn't get anything done. That's why he was able to get so much done. Dafka, because he was humble, because he believed in himself truly, but he was the most spiritual because he believed that his gifts came from God and never got to him and never made him haughty. That's how he kept being able to do more and more. And of course, the classic, another Rabbi Nachman, the entire world is a very narrow bridge. The main thing is not to be afraid. That life can feel like extremely constrained and limited, that you have nowhere to budge, nowhere to go. But don't be afraid, Rabbi Nachman says. And I just want to share this song. Barry Weber, I'm sure a lot of you know, he's a Hasidic artist. And so I'm just going to read to you just his song. Is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful, his song. I'm just going to read it to you now. Fear can be your worst enemy. It can paralyze you to the point that it doesn't let you think. It doesn't let you move forward. A young boy is trying to paint the beautiful scenery he sees spread out before him. He works meticulously with such care, but the results are way below his expectations. In his frustration, he breaks the painting in half and is about to give up. But in his head, he hears Barry Weber telling him, Lo l'fachei klal, not to be afraid, not to let the fear take control. He tries again, and this time he produces a masterpiece. Like the young boy, we all face different fears that hamper us. The trick is not to get rid of the fear or to deny that it exists. You can't control fear happening to you, but you can control what fear does to you. Instead of giving into it, visualize your happy place, the person or dream that inspires you, and let it pull you out of the depths of fear and hopelessness. Let hope surround and envelop you and free you from the shackles of despair so you can soar. I just think this song is beautiful. I think it's called, I'm not sure exactly, but it's a new song, Lo l'fachei klal, or something with that verse. And it's just beautiful that you have the ability to just visualize, the ability to and Rabbi Nachman's very big on this, and visualizing a happy place or a person that can kind of bring you out of despair. And actually, I'd like to end with something that I was taught when I was in graduate school. It's called the thought map exercise. And this is something anyone can do to, kind of cultivate certain feelings. So I just thought it would make sense based on where we're at, and we're talking about anxiety with the high holy days, to kind of cultivate, feelings of either you want to do calm or peaceful, tranquility. So I don't know if everyone can see, but I basically put a circle in the middle of a piece of paper, and you write the word calm. I wrote calm. You can write peace, tranquility, whatever it is. And what you want to do is you put three like arrows, points, and you basically can make them a person, a place, or a thing, or a memory of something that is calm. So I put an ocean. That to me is very calming. That's a place. I put a person, a certain friend of mine who's extremely calm. And then I put memories of me sitting outside on a chair on Shabbos outside. That's a very calming experience for me. And the point is to take like 3 to 5 minutes, and to take, let's say, 7 seconds at each place for a 3-minute span. So like, let's say you spend the first of the 3 minutes, the first 7 seconds, you're thinking of the ocean. I'm thinking of the ocean, and I have the view of the beautiful, the blue water and the waves. And then 7 seconds are up, and now I switch. I go now to the visualization of my friend, and just seeing how calm he is. And I do that for 7 seconds, and then 7 seconds later, I switch to the memory of sitting on the chair outside in my backyard. And every 7 or so seconds, because your mind wanders, you don't want to stay on it for too long, you switch and you add more details. So now when I get back to the ocean, the first 7 seconds that I was in visualizing the ocean was about the water. Now I'm visualizing the sand. And then the second time you're visiting, the friend, you saw his face, and now you're seeing, maybe the way he spoke. And each time, up until the 3 minutes are over, as you're going around, you kind of add more and more detail to that person, to that place, to that memory. And it's supposed to basically, after 3 to 5 minutes or so, make you feel a lot more calm. And it really works. It really helps a lot. So I'm just going to, one moment here, stop my share. And just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for coming. And I hope that this, was helpful to you, and that these were some really good tips and some words of wisdom to help you be a little bit less anxious and to have more tools for the coming holidays, the coming high holidays. So thank you for joining, and have a Shana Tova and Chesiva v'Chasima Tova.